Hello, everybody. Dave D here, and welcome to this special broadcast that I'm doing. We are live right now, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a very, very specific strategy. And quite frankly, it's not that sexy, but it's really important if you want to close more sales, if you want to help more clients, and if you want to make more money. So, let's talk about this and let's discuss the importance of banishing neediness from all of your sales and all of your marketing. One of the most important things that you can do is this, and the reasons are manyfold. And the truth is that you probably aren't even aware that you're projecting neediness to your prospects through what you say, through your nonverbal communication. And we need to talk about how we can solve those problems. And so, what we're going to talk about here is the problems that are caused, that neediness cause. The next thing are the solutions, and then I'm going to give you two specific strategies that you can take and that you can use that will help increase your sales. Okay, so the first thing, as I mentioned, and I do have my notes here if you wonder what I'm looking at, I got it's all printed out here. The first thing is that it is difficult to see that we are projecting neediness. It's very difficult to know that inside of ourselves. So what problems does this cause? The first thing is your prospects can sense neediness, and they can sense it either consciously or subconsciously. Okay, meaning that you may not even know that you're projecting it. However, if you are, your prospects will notice it, or they'll feel something and they're not even going to understand why. And what this does is it projects a lack of confidence on your part. So anytime you exhibit any type of neediness, you're saying to your prospect, again, either consciously or subconsciously, I'm not confident. And what that doesn't mean that you're not confident at delivering the service or delivering the product or delivering the result for the prospect. It simply means that you're not confident in your overall marketing or selling ability. And the way that your prospect translates that is that you have lack of ability. Now, that may or may not be true. My guess is it probably isn't true for you. However, if that's what you're projecting, okay, if you are projecting that that you have this neediness, what your prospect feels is, this person is not very confident in their ability to deliver. Their mind does not make a distinction between, well, this person is not confident in their presentation, or not confident in their marketing, or not confident in their sales skills. What they immediately think is, this person isn't confident. I'm not sure. The next thing that neediness does is it repels your prospect. And the reason it repels your prospect is because they begin to wonder if you truly have their best interests at heart. Right? So if the prospect feels like you need this sale, they're wondering, and again, consciously or subconsciously, is this person actually telling me the truth? Do they really have my best interests at heart? Or because they need this sale so badly, are they going to say something or do something just in order to make the sale because they need it? The next thing is that it lowers your confidence and your own self-esteem. If you recognize it, that's a great start. But if you don't recognize it, you may be wondering, why don't I feel that great about what I'm doing? And if you're feeling needy, you just don't feel great. So I remember when I was first back out in the dating world after getting divorced and all of that, one of the things that I needed to make sure that I didn't project was neediness. And any woman will tell you that they're not attracted to a needy guy, right? And the truth is, most men aren't attracted to needy women. Why? Because we don't know if who they really are. And someone who's needy typically has low self-esteem and they have low self-confidence. So the question is, how do we then, what are the solutions? Well, in a previous email that I sent out, I think it was yesterday, I mentioned a couple of them. So I'm just going to quickly review those and then we're going to get into the techniques. By the way, if you've got any questions or anything like that, just feel free to enter them into the chat or into the Q&A. That's absolutely fine. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Okay, so the next thing is, let's talk about solutions. The first solution is to have a continuous flow of high quality leads. Now, notice I said high quality, not just people you're talking to, because if you have low quality leads and you're talking to them, you're not going to be converting them, and which is going to probably lower your self-esteem, lower your confidence, amp up your neediness. So we need to have a consistent flow of high quality prospects who we're talking to. So no one prospect really will make or break us. Now, if you only have two meetings with prospects this month, and you got to close both of them, it's going to be very, very difficult, regardless of what mental techniques that you use to not be needy, not let that come across. So the first thing is a consistent flow of high quality prospects. You got to have that, because techniques aren't going to do anything for you unless you have that. The next thing is to master the art and science of selling. Now, again, I know that that's self-serving because that's what I sell, but it's the truth. If you feel totally confident in your process and totally confident that you're great at helping people make a decision and closing the sale, you're going to come across as more confident. And you know that, hey, even if I don't close this particular prospect, I'm going to close the next one. Also, when you have a process that you're following, it exudes out. The prospect can actually feel it. And the reason the prospect can feel it is because they know that they're in the hands of a professional. So you want to follow a proven system, a planned system, whether it's my psychic sales or somebody else's system. You want to follow a system. It'll give you confidence and it'll remove neediness. The third strategy, and this is the first two are super like practical, right? This one is a little bit more difficult to get our heads wrapped around, but it is equally as important. And that is to make sure that you are are crystal clear on your value, on the value that you provide to people. And I'm not just talking on an intellectual level, I'm talking on an emotional level. You need to really associate what you do to how it helps your prospects, how it transforms them, about the great benefits that your prospect gets working with you, and you really need to feel it. Are you absolutely crystal clear on your value? Again, that translates into your confidence level. So if you're crystal clear on your value and you know it, right, then that's going to come across and it's going to banish neediness. It's going to be almost like the prospect, you're thinking or you're feeling, hey, if you don't do business with me, you're making a huge mistake. Years and years and years ago, over a decade ago, actually, almost 2 decades, when I was a professional magician, I remember being so confident in one particular market area that when that prospect called me, I mean, I really, truly, honestly believed that if they didn't hire me to entertain at their event, they were making a huge mistake. So that kind of confidence. Now, of course, I never would say that to the prospect, but that's what I was feeling inside because I understood my value. Today, I don't like someone would come to me and say, well, can you help me with lead generation? And my answer would be no, because I don't have total confidence and understand my value. Well, I do understand my value isn't great in that area. Someone says, hey, can you help us out with our virtual event or in-person event or a hybrid event? I'm like, hell yeah, I can. Right? So you got to understand what your true value is. And then once you have all of that, you've got enough leads coming in, you've got you've enough high quality leads, you've got a sales process which you're confident in, you understand your value, then you want to start incorporating actual techniques. And so I'm going to give you two that you can take and that you can start using immediately. And I know that a lot of people are technique junkies. And what do I mean by a technique junkie? A technique junkie is someone who gets all excited about the new strategy, the new hack. And I get excited about that stuff too. But I encourage you not to discount the first things that I talked about on the solutions to this problem, because those things are really the most important. Once we get beyond that, and doesn't mean that you can't be doing all this simultaneously. You should use the techniques I'm about to share with you. But if you don't handle the psychological pieces of this and the lead pieces of this, then the techniques are going to come across as hollow. So both of these techniques that I'm going to share with you, and again, you'll be able to take them and use them immediately, revolve around a concept called takeaway selling. So what is takeaway selling? Takeaway selling is really the opposite of what most people are doing. Most people are trying to convince the prospect to work with them, meaning they're giving all of the reasons why the prospect should be working with them. And in the process of doing that, they are overselling. And when you oversell, what is that a sign of? Right? If you guess neediness, that you got it right. Right? So when you see a salesperson, you know it, they're overselling themselves. Hey, easy. It's a sign of neediness. So takeaway selling is the opposite of that. This is where you're really getting the prospect to qualify themselves to work with you, getting the prospect to feel that they must work with you, not necessarily because you're telling them to. So let me give you these two techniques that you can use immediately. The first one is to let the prospect know that you may not be the right person to help them. And in my Psychic Sales 2.0 Consultations at Close program, there's a transition between when we start asking the prospect questions about their situation to when we're going to prescribe, after we develop rapport with the prospect, to the transition to when we're going to start asking them deep probing questions. There's one of the transitional statements that I teach is this: Mr. Prospect, I'm not sure I'm the right person to help you, but let's explore it further and see. Would you mind if I ask some questions? Right? So what this does is it takes the prospect completely off guard. Remember, everyone else who they're dealing with is doing the opposite of this. And so when you say to the prospect, hey, Mr. Prospect, I'm not even sure I'm the right person to help you, so let me ask you some questions so we can find out. Now, when you say that, the prospect relaxes. They relax and they're more open to answering your questions. And it is the total opposite of neediness. The total opposite of neediness. Because you're saying, hey, I might not be the right person for you. And the fact is, that might be the fact. You might not be the right person for them. So the one thing I want you to understand is we're not using these techniques to manipulate people. We're actually stating the truth, and we're showing our confidence in ourselves. So I recently had one of my students who went through the Consultations at Close program, and an attorney. And he said that, he developed rapport. He did all of the stuff he was supposed to do. And he said that line to his prospect. And as a prospect immediately said, oh, no. We know you're the person to help us, right? So just from now, obviously, you developed rapport and you did all that other stuff. But by saying that, the prospect was like, yeah, we know we want to work with you. So they start selling themselves to you, which is a far superior position to be in than you trying to sell to them. Okay. So the line, and you want to work it out with any script or any technique, you want to make it your own. You want to understand the philosophy behind it. So the philosophy is that you say to the prospect, Mr. Prospect, I'm not even sure I'm the right person to help you. So let me ask you would you think I could ask you some questions so we can find out? And if I'm not the right person, I may know the right person to help you. Okay. Again, totally takes a prospect and it shows total confidence and there's no neediness there, none. The second technique and the final technique I'm going to share with you is one that you can use in your presentation and as part of my one-to-many template or format that I use, but you can also use it in your marketing materials as well. And it is the who this is not for chunk, as I like to call it. So in my one-to-many, when I'm doing a webinar or doing a speaking presentation or a video, one of the sections that I have is before I introduce my product or my service, I say, first, let me tell you who this is might not be for. And then I list out all of the reasons all of the people who my product or my service is not for. And there's a couple things that go on when I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about in a minute, but there's some really deep psychological things that happen when you do that. The first thing is, again, it shows total confidence. You're not trying to sell everybody. You're not being needy. You're saying, hey, this is not right for everybody. It's not right for everybody. The second thing is you're using what is called a damaging admission. And the damaging admission is, again, it builds trust. When you admit that what you have is not right for everybody, that it is not flawless, when you show the flaw, then what happens is people tend to believe you and trust you more. Therefore, it makes closing the sale easier. All right. So let me give you an example of exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm going to give it to you in the form of if I was doing a presentation. But again, I had another client of mine, student of mine, who has this on their website. Hey, who we're not for, not just who we're for, but who we're not for. So you want to think about how you can use this strategy. So I would introduce my solution. So let's say I'm selling my program, the Virtual Event Selling Machine, all right, which teaches people how to create presentations that sell. So I would say, now, before we talk about that, though, let me tell you who this is not for. This is not for someone who needs to reinvent the wheel. If you're going to tinker and change my format, if you're not going to follow instructions, then this isn't for you. This is a system that's been proven. It's been honed over years and it works. The only time it doesn't work is when people start screwing with it. So if you're a tinkerer and you want to change it all around, don't do it, right? So that is an example of this is not for you statement. One that I'll often use when I'm selling a high ticket item is I'll say, this is not for you if the investment is going to take food off of your table or keep you lying awake at bed at night and put your family in financial distress. And by the way, that's not a manipulative statement. That's the truth. I don't want to work with somebody who is so desperate that they need it to work because they're needy, right? So you don't want to be needy and you don't want to be working with needy people as well, right? So that's another example. So really, when you're developing this for yourself, all you need to be thinking about is, well, who is this really not for? So I'll give you one more example. So I say, if you're looking for a program that's going to teach you to generate leads for your presentation, this isn't for you. This is about crafting a presentation that sells. It's not about lead generation. So I tell people that oftentimes when I'm doing, and I don't do a lot of it, but when I'm doing done for you work, in fact, I don't do really done for you work anymore unless it's on somebody's event. I would say to them, so let's just have a little conversation right here from the beginning. If you're looking for someone to help you generate leads, I'm not the guy for you. Okay. I'm not the guy for you. Right. And so then that the prospect needs to tell me, and they almost always do. Hey, thank you for being honest. Yeah, we do need to generate leads, but we understand that that's not what you're going to do for us. Right. So it's very clear right from the very beginning. All right. So you need to be thinking about, okay, truly, honestly, who is my product or my service not for? Who don't I want to work with? And you simply tell the people that. And what happens is, conversely, the people who are for you trust you more and they start selling themselves to you. So, in this brief video training, we've discussed the insidious nature of neediness in your sales and in your marketing process. And I've given you a number of solutions to help you out. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat about your particular situation, and I will be happy to answer those for you. If there are no questions, then we will call it a day. Any questions, just type them into the chat or the Q&A. Just going to give it a second here. I'm testing out a new system here, so I'm not sure what the delay is or anything like that on it. All right. Okay, I don't see any questions coming on in. I encourage you to watch this video again. By the way, if you want to master the art and science of selling both one-to-one and one-to-many, I encourage you to check out my Dave D Inner Sanctum VIP program. There's really three major components to it. The first is there's a monthly masterclass where we do a deep dive on a particular topic that'll help you grow your business. The second thing is, hey, Eric, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. The second piece to the Inner Sanctum VIP program is that we do the inner game of success, where we talk about getting our heads screwed on right and productivity and things like that, because we can have all the techniques on the planet, but if we don't have our inner game working, we're going to be in trouble. And then the third piece is that we also have a monthly mastermind call, a virtual mastermind session. We do that via Zoom, and there are hot seats and there's Q&A, and you can get personal help from me and the other members in the group. So if that interests you, I strongly recommend that you at least go check it out at daved.com/VIP. That's daved.com/VIP. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody, and I look forward to talking to you again